Welcome to Big Blend Radio with your hosts, Lisa and Nancy, editors of BigBlendMagazine.com.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Big Blend Radio. We love our is it the fourth Sunday already? How did that happen? Every fourth Sunday, we get to chat with Lance Laber. Lance is the executive director of the DeGrazia Gallery in the Sun in Tucson, Arizona. So he's always here sharing tales of Ted DeGrazia. Ted DeGrazia is a very famous Southwest artist based out of Tucson. He's obviously passed by now, but he is also known as one of the most recognized and reproduced artists in the world. And Lance joins us every month on the fourth Sunday to tell us a little bit more history of Ted DeGrazia. And we've been talking about Ted DeGrazia for years. We've visited the gallery numerous times. We'll be back there in November. We're excited. But I have to say, there's always something new to learn about Ted DeGrazia. This man led quite a life. So you've got to go to the gallery if you go to Tucson. And if you don't go to Tucson, go on their website and they have a cool shop. I'm just saying, holiday season's coming. Go to DeGrazia.org. So welcome back, Lance. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
How is Tucson? Tucson dude. You know, Lance is one of the two Tucson dudes. The other one is Domingo DeGrazia, Ted DeGrazia, one of his sons. Is his only son? Does he have more than one son? Oh, here we go.
He had a son named Nick, his first son that passed away a long time ago. Excuse me.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah.
But we got Domingo. He's the other Tucson dude. And, this, you know, we need to get him back on the show too. We haven't had him on the show for a long time, Domingo.
That's well, he's a busy guy.
I know.
He's very busy. He just got a new job, a legal job out with the Tohono O'odham Indian tribes. So he's been busy, but I stay in touch with him.
Oh, you know what? That's awesome. He does, in a way, take after his dad's footsteps in that. I remember when we first met him, he was representing kids, illegally, helping them in the legal capacity.
He still does that. He still does that.
And then, working with the Tohono O'odham Nation, and then, isn't he a race car driver and a pilot? He's an amazing musician.
Well, he used to ride motorcycles, race motorcycles, and he's not quite as young as he used to be. So he's
gonna love listening
moderating his behavior a little bit.
Oh, he's gonna so love listening to this. But he is an amazing guitarist, flamenco guitarist, and his dad, Ted DeGrazia, is a trumpeter, and so music is definitely part of their life and art, and being connected with the people. And that's what I meant. Like, truly, I think, Ted DeGrazia's got this, kind of a wild character, but at the same time, he's got a lot of heart and soul for the people of the people of the place and, in the Southwest. And that's what we're going to talk about. Right now it's Hispanic Heritage Month. And so we want to talk a little bit about his connections, definitely very connected to the indigenous people, the Native American tribes in the area, but also, his connection in Mexico and also obviously in Tucson is very Hispanic. But Ted DeGrazia, just going back a little bit, he has his gallery and you can visit it. It's 10 acres. It's a National Historic Landmark. It's beautiful. It's an amazing gallery to visit. It's like a museum, but it's fun. Did I just say that, Lance? I didn't mean to knock museums, but you know what I mean?
Right.
It's fun to go in and, you've got videos and everything, and you can walk the grounds and see where Ted DeGrazia and his wife lived in their house and all of that. So it's a beautiful time of year to come out to Tucson too, right? Fall is an awesome time.
The weather is still warm, but it hasn't been 112 every day, so it's probably going to be in the upper 90s today. So it's a little weird for fall. It's still quite warm, so we'll see what happens.
I know it is fall, huh? So
it's supposed to be.
Well, you do get fall colors in Tucson. You got to go up to Mount Lemon, and then at the same time, all the cactus turn colors. So I kind of like it,
Yeah,
and we'll be
it's
there.
just weird. It's just been a weird year. It was a very hot summer, and it's going to continue to be hot for a while. I just hope they haven't canceled winter.
Well, you know what? Nancy and I are driving from the east, where right now it's in the 50s. I'm just saying that as we record, we're in long sleeves and we have a storm coming through and everything. So what I'll do is I'll empty the car and I'll pack in all the water from the rain and
Please
all the cooler weather and bring it.
send it this way, please.
I will. I will, but we can't wait. And fall is, Tucson is a magical city. But to really go into these roots, Ted DeGrazia was born in Morenci, right? Which is, up in the hills. It's a mining town. And, I don't think they're mining there anymore in Southeast.
Oh,
It's
are
in
you
like,
kidding?
they
They
are?
got the biggest
Ooh,
copper mine. I mean, it's
no.
the biggest open pit mine you've ever seen. It's
Oh,
huge.
wow. Wow. See, I've
Yeah,
never been
no,
there yet.
it's probably a couple miles across and probably a mile deep. I mean, this is a big hole. Yeah, they continue to pull copper out of there and probably will for another 100 years.
Wow. I did not know they were still going. I
Oh
did.
yeah.
I know that they have a Ted DeGrazia street, I believe. I remember because we thought we were going
They
to
have a
go there one
park.
day. They have a park. Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
they
We're going to have to
dedicated a
go.
park to DeGrazia about back in the 90s.
Hmm.
We had a big celebration out there, and we took some paintings out there to display, and had a big DeGrazia celebration. So yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, they're very aware of their native son.
So when, he was, born there and in the mines, did a little bit of work there and, obviously he has musical and artistic talent, moved to Italy with his parents, came back and he is Italian. Where was he working? Like, was his childhood did he have like Mexican friends growing up and Indian friends? Because I know like that's, huge part of his friendships were, of the Indian
Sure,
people.
sure. There's uh, a big Hispanic contingent up in Morenci, and I mean all through Arizona. Arizona is we're right next to Mexico, so it's a really homogenized the melting pot.
Hmm. Which means there's
But
good food.
yeah, so yeah, no, he had a lot of friends up there and people that he commiserated with and hung with.
And then he went to Mexico. So when he moved to Tucson, he was, playing music, raising money for himself to get him through college and everything through music and even landscaping. But then he got married to, before, Marion, it was Alexandra, right? That he was married to. And
Alexandra Dimas, yes.
yeah. And that's when he first went to Mexico was with her.
Yeah, he first went to Mexico to meet Diego Rivera with Alexandra, and they found him, and he worked with Diego Rivera for a little while, for a month or two on a mural. Uh,
Hmm.
Diego Rivera loved DeGrazia's work, and so he gave him a lot of inspiration and support.
So he like pretty much had like an internship with him and then Jose Clemente Orozco also, right? So
Right? Yeah. No, they both supported him, and they both really loved his work.
weren't they doing more murals like kind of more political style than what we.
Back then, yeah, Diego Rivera, he was making his political statements, and I think DeGrazia wasn't really hugely political. He did a few political paintings, kind of to express his opinions, but um, Diego Rivera was a communist, and that's what he believed in. And DeGrazia was about the farthest thing from a communist. DeGrazia was a capitalist
Mm-hmm.
and, believed in, believed in making money.
Yeah. I mean, he was smart, and that's how he became the most reproduced artist, right? It's
Pretty
like,
much. Right.
yeah, it is understanding how to change the art world, of how things work. But I think that standing up for the people rubbed off on him. But I kind of feel like he's probably already had that even when he went there to Mexico, that he already cared about the people, you know? Uh,
I think DeGrazia cared about people from the very beginning. I mean, he was just
yeah.
he was a very kind and kind of generous man, and as he got more and more famous, he still was willing to share his time with people, and he also guarded his privacy. His private time was his private time,
Mhm.
but when he was in the public or when he was in his gallery, he shared his time with everybody. He was a very
Hmm.
generous man in that way.
Yeah. So going into more of the history, because he really got into the history of the Mexican people, the indigenous people, which are really the same, right? In a way, because
Yeah,
yeah,
well,
I don't want to get in trouble with that, but because we were Mexico at one point, right? Now I feel like I'm back home again. But Arizona was Mexico at one point. There were the Native American
Arizona
indigenous
was
people.
Mexican territory. So was
Yeah,
California. So was
yeah,
Texas.
yeah, y-
Uh,
yeah.
so yeah. Uh,
Yeah. So
but
I mean,
Degrassi, yeah, go
yeah,
ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm just saying before, us whiteys came into town, you know what I mean? He was there. He kind of understood the people, like I'm just calling the indigenous people, the Mexican people and the Native Americans he was very close with. And they helped, obviously build the gallery with them. We've talked about that on shows before. And um, but he really got into their history and their cultures and traditions, like their cultural traditions, I should say, because you just go in the gallery and there's all the permanent exhibits, the rotating exhibits, the new ones. One of them that you have right now, I want to talk about Padre Kino and everything too, but one that you have is scenes from the Revolution that he painted, and it makes me think about it because that must have been, these paintings went from 1937 to 73, and he was in Mexico in the 40s, and he did two trips to Mexico, right? Uh,
He did several. I mean, he used to go
oh,
down to Mexico all the time. He
okay.
went down. I believe it was in the early 30s that he went down and met Diego Rivera. And
Mm,
but throughout the years, he would travel to Mexico. A good example is when the Seri Indians that live on Tiburon Island were getting ready. The Mexican government was getting ready to move them off the island. They were turning the island into a nature preserve, and DeGrazia went down there and painted the Seris and documented their lifestyle and their culture before they got moved off the island. And so, yeah, no, he went down there a lot. I mean, this was, these were his friends. These were his people. The Yaquis lived down there. So, he went back and forth a lot.
mm. I love that, he connected with the people and at the same time painted their history, showcased it. And I think that's something that, I was in an interview the other day with our friend Glenn Burrows in England, and he was talking about language being passed down, and we got, for some reason, got into the topic of Native American language. He says, "Oh, well, they must have dictionaries and this and this." And I said, "No, there's very few. Native American language often was passed down orally. It went down, it was spoken word, and their art is really a lot of what we get to learn from the ancestral peoples. Obviously, the people living today are, gathering their history and documenting it too. And I know there's a lot of effort. I mean, I met one lady at a folk festival in Louisiana. Her tribe was only 600 people left in her tribe. And her dad was the one that congressionally documented their alphabet and their language and got it documented down. And it's a congressional thing, apparently. And you think about like these 600 people left. Like, how is that? How's that tribe going to, keep going, with only 600 people? And so it's kind of interesting what you think when you go back to Ted DeGrazia. I think a lot of ways of what he's done with his art is share these stories of people and what they do and who they are, so that there's this familiarity, this non-prejudice way of, do you know what I mean, Lance? It's like
Yeah, you know what?
he's
What
breaking,
it is,
he's making it warm,
yeah, what it is to me is just, I mean, it's a living culture, Tohono O'odham,
Yeah.
the Yaquis, all these native peoples, their culture is alive, and
Hmm.
most people aren't aware of this. And DeGrazia had a way of being able to share this with people who wouldn't normally know what a Yaqui deer dancer was, or the Apache eagle dancers, or whatever. He was able to document this and share this cultural beauty with the rest of the world.
I love that, because you have to be able to document, you have to you have to have like deep respect. It's like photographers following bands around and documentary people going out now and doing things. You can't just go in to a personal setting and and get away with it. You know what I mean? You have to have like mutual respect for that to happen, for him to be able to document.
Absolutely, absolutely. You don't want to insult anybody
Yeah.
by
Yeah.
saying the wrong thing or taking the wrong step. Um, you know,
Yeah.
they've
Growing up in Kenya as a kid, and then South Africa, we were dealing with, different tribes all the time. And each tribe, I mean, I was raised, to learn the languages and the mannerisms and per tribe. And that's how you communicated. And, Nancy was adamant, you will learn, and that's that. And of course, it was like, there's nothing negative to me about doing that. I had more friends, and it was such a beautiful thing when you could meet each other in this setting. And I actually think deep down that as we're having this conversation, this is why I really, really respect Ted DeGrazia more than any of it, is he has that ability of connecting and then sharing and understanding without not being a zoo. Like, don't look at people like you're in a zoo. Like, I would watch tourists come in and photograph friends, because they have tribal clothing on, and photograph them like they're an animal caged in a zoo. And that's where his paintings and his art is the opposite. It's like, here, look at these beautiful beings that we're connected with, and how they celebrate life and celebrate death too, and how they live. And maybe we can all connect and get along. And obviously, yes, he's a capitalist in art, and hey, we should all make money, and there's nothing wrong with that. But he had that ability to cross connect. And when people go into different cultures, a lot of times they start doing photos and kind of gawking, and these are fellow human beings. You understand what
well,
I mean? Like, yeah,
with DeGrazia, especially with the Yaqui Indians, the Yaquis, when you go to their pageants or their functions, you're not allowed to take
mhm,
photographs. You're not allowed to
mhm,
video. You're not allowed to take any audio. So it's a matter of being respectful, very respectful. And so he would just go and hang with these people for 40 days and 40 nights and watch what they were doing and just observe. And he never would do anything overtly in front of them. He would go home and then he would work on this. And they really respected him for his respect for them.
Yeah.
They loved the man.
In Africa, if you photographed, it was like you were stealing their soul. And
I'm not quite sure, if that's exactly what it is. I really don't know, but
no,
they
it's
just don't allow it.
How would you like to be like have some stranger come in and photograph your wedding? You know what I mean? It's like, what are you doing?
Right.
It's like, hey, we're documenting you for what you are. I had a person photograph me once. This is way back when. Oh my gosh, it's a good thing Nancy's not on the show. So I was smoking a cigarette behind a bush. And I was not supposed to be doing that, obviously. This is way, way, way back in ancient times. And it was at a mall where I was working, but I was hiding behind this bush because, I didn't want people to see, not that like everybody knows if you smoke, right? Don't even think you can't. There's no faking it. Get over it. Well, I still thought I could get away with it. And this guy came up and photographed me and ran. And I was like, what the hell is this? And I chased him down. I had a friend with me, a guy I was working with, and we chased him down. He just said, no, I'm a photographer, art project, and I'm doing this thing. And you just look so like you weren't supposed to be doing what you're doing. I mean, and it freaked me out. And it made me realize, like, all my history of don't photograph people, there's a way to do it and build respect. Like, no matter what, I still don't know what happened to that photo of me, or it's weird. It was weird and I still feel weird about it. And so when I think about Ted DeGrazia's art, like he didn't make people feel like I felt, hey, you just did this, dance step or something. I'm like photograph. You know what I mean? Lance, it's weird what we do as human beings to other human beings.
Yeah,
We're going to
well,
stalk you with your camera.
You just don't make people feel uncomfortable. And DeGrazia was pretty good about that.
Yeah.
I think all his friends were always, he was at ease with them and they were at ease with him. And,
yeah. I was
a little
looking
bit
at
of
him.
Chivas Regal didn't hurt either.
Exactly. I think he just got down. He was like, hey, let's hang out. And it's so cool. That's where you get the true story, and I think you watch photographers now and that, people take a gazillion photos and never really get the story because they're so busy doing that they don't get the understanding. And DeGrazia gets the understanding of the people, and that comes through really clear because he soaked it in, And
Right.
so Mexico was a big deal. See, now we crossed into different cultures. We were supposed to only stay in Hispanic heritage here, Lance. We crossed over, but so what? When we look at what he has done in Mexico, he didn't they, Diego Rivera and Jose Orozco, didn't they like sponsor an exhibit for him, like an exhibition for him?
They sponsored an exhibit, the Palace of Fine Art in Mexico City. One-man show, DeGrazia, and it was very successful. It was very successful in Mexico. They loved him there.
And they put him in magazines and everything there too.
I'm not aware of that. I'm not going to lie to you and tell you something I don't know, but he was just very successful, and they appreciated his work down there. But then when he came back to Arizona, nobody really cared. Nobody paid any attention, and nobody really wanted to show his work at that time. And that's why he ended up buying all that property and building his own gallery to show his own work because nobody else wanted to show it. And of course, he proved to the world that he was just a raging success, despite what the snooty art community thought of him. He was gangbusters.
Man, and everyone, the Yaqui dancer, Dear Dancer, you got to go to the back of the gallery in the courtyard and see the fountain. It's my favorite piece. And, I love the courtyard. It's all kinds of cactus and plants and the fountain. But then, like, you got to think also, Padre Kino. I don't want to leave them out because, I think that, Ted DeGrazia would get mad. Padre Kino and Cabeza de Vaca. So did he get to learn about their history from when he was in Mexico, do you think? Or just, it's all throughout Tucson's history. Well, not Cabeza de Vaca as much, but
DeGrazia was a student. He was an educated man, and this is all stuff that he studied and read about, and all the historical stuff that he was very interested in. Loved Father Kino, and the story of Cabeza de Vaca is a very weird and terrible story. But he wanted to share this, and he just not only was he an artist, he was a historian
and a writer.
and a
I love
writer.
his writing. I love his writing. I would say that when they put about, and we're not done, with our story on Cabeza de Vaca because, we did go to Galveston finding that, and how mad I am that we never got that we want him to have a big sculpture, he deserves like a sculpture. He deserves something other than like a little plaque on the street, that was just,
You mean Father Kino?
no, Cabeza de Vaca.
Cabeza de Vaca. Yeah, okay.
When we drove to Galveston just for the story because of Ted DeGrazia, and then we're going to go see this monument, this, marker, and that's it. Here's your marker. And I was like, he was known, and this is why I go to Ted DeGrazia's writing, as Texas, the very first travel writer of Texas, because of his documentation of coming, on the ship to Galveston and, everybody getting out. And that trek through the desert and everything, everyone dying and everything, but he wrote about the desert so prolifically, and he wrote about so he was noted as the travel writer of Texas, the very first.
Well,
and I would think you'd have more for him,
Well, they were the first Europeans in Texas, New Mexico, and Arizona. So, yeah, he was the travel writer.
He was. And so when you read DeGrazia's books, which everyone, by the way, go to the gallery gift shop. They're in there. I remember reading the one that he wrote about Padre Kino, and it was like reading a novel. I felt like I was like it was like a novel. Like he writes like historical fiction almost, about Padre Kino. And I still can't get past what I think he wanted to be Padre Kino. I really do. I think if he could go back in time, he would do it. Don't you think?
That's quite possible. That's an interesting thought.
Well, he puts himself in paintings too, and he kind of looks like him. It's kind of weird. Like, I'm just saying, like I think he liked Padre Kino, and Padre Kino was pretty cool,
Yeah, Padre Kino was very kind to the people that he came to preach to, and DeGrazia appreciated that. I think there was a kinship. He felt this kinship with Father Kino. He loved the Indians just like the way Father Kino did.
Mm. And that was a weird time too, right? What was going on?
Well, the Spaniards, all they did was come to steal the gold and steal whatever, whatever the Indians had. They came to steal it. Father Kino wasn't that way. Father Kino came in peace, and he came. He didn't force them to convert. At the muzzle of a gun, and DeGrazia loved the Indians the way Father Kino did, and he just felt this kinship with him, and just a lot of respect for the man who treated these people kindly.
I can't wait.
When really that wasn't the way. That wasn't the way the Spanish worked.
No, it was different. The Spanish were on a Spain and England, both of them were off and running at the same time and clashing all in the waters. And, like Sir Francis Drake and his golden hiney, I say, the golden hind, off he goes. And he would make the Spanish mad, it was this war of the worlds, really, in a way. Not World War I or II. It was like the war of the worlds. Everybody wanted to conquer. And here
everybody wanted land and everybody wanted gold.
Everybody, Spain knew there was gold.
Stole every bit of it that they could.
Well, Ted DeGrazia, he had silver, right? He had silver nuggets and everything left at the gallery.
There was gold, silver. There was a lot of everything.
Wow, dude. I don't know. Talking to you today just makes me very homesick for the gallery and wanting to go back and see the exhibits that I really love. We've talked about them for years. Obviously, Nancy and I've been, to the museum for years, or the gallery. And I don't know. I just, when you go there, obviously everyone can purchase online and everything, but I'm just saying when you go to the gallery itself and you understand what DeGrazia, who he is as a artist and a documenter, like a documentarian, that's the word, right? It is a beautiful thing. And some of it's not so beautiful. I don't know, the bullfighting thing that doesn't sit well for me personally, but I respect what he's done with it. Like the cockfight. That cockfight painting, that's probably one of the most craziest, coolest paintings ever. Not that I like cockfighting, So it's a thing that people should do if they go to Tucson. And speaking of getting away from the crazy world of today, Tucson, go to the gallery and, you'll just be